Okay, I think 1, 2, and I hope that the signal is coming through on YouTube, and I hope that the signal is coming through also on Facebook. I'm going to talk a little slow today, not too fast. I wanted to cover a subject that was requested of me about current events, and also those people on Facebook. I don't usually share this information about empaths and narcissists and super sensitive and hypersensitive people. I don't talk too much about that on Facebook, but I talk a lot about it on YouTube. So I thank everyone on YouTube for tuning in. I'm looking up this way. I'm looking at my time, my monitor up above my head, and then a monitor in front of me, and then the Facebook monitor. And then the Facebook live stream feed to my left and your right. So I want to go into a biblical scripture first. And in this biblical scripture, it says, and this is, again, if my computer freezes up, I am having very serious technical problems with my graphics card and my temporary memory I ordered. So I got it. Hadn't arrived yet. So I'm still trying to do a little something. So if my feed breaks on YouTube, my apologies. I'll try to upload it from my phone, from my Facebook page. So let's go into Isaiah 30:10 of the King James Version of the Bible first. And there's a reason I want to go into this. In it, it says, which say to the seers, talking about the people of the time, see not, saying we don't want to see truth anymore. See not. And to the prophets, they say, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. We are at a stage now where in society, people are fascinated by lies. People are fascinated by unbelievable scenarios that they are convinced to believe. God is telling me you're going to be rich by next week. God is telling me some money is going to fall in your lap. This is going to happen. That is going to happen. But when a person comes to you and say, be cautious of who you talk to, that person that right there is not good for you. That is not a true friend. We get upset with them. So now we jump from church to church, religion to religion, ideology to ideology, because we're looking for someone to do just what it says in Isaiah 30:10. The people want to be lied to, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. I know this to be so because when I posted up my anniversary, my wife and I anniversary, over probably 90 people responded to that, which tells me that 90 people at least see my post when I go live. But you choose not to listen to what I say God is saying to me. I'm not talking about some mysterious God. I never ask any of you for any money. I never ask any of you to join anything that I'm a part of. I am just sharing information that I feel God has given me to share. That is over 30 years I've been doing that by God's permission. None of your money has sustained my family or me, with the exception of business. And business is something that I am sincere about and I put my heart into. I'm going to give you a scenario real quick. My son was telling me about a friend of his who has a camera, and he said to me, he's a photographer. He should know how to take pictures. And I said, when did he become a photographer? He bought a camera and was taking pictures for a few days. He's not a photographer. I said, what's happening with society is this. Because we have the money to purchase a thing, we put the label on ourselves that identifies the thing that we purchase. So although I don't know anything about music from the past or the present, because I can afford to buy DJ equipment, I call myself a DJ. But you're not a DJ. You get a lot of gigs because of your personality, and you diminish the value of DJing, because that is not your passion. That is not your love. That's something you do as a pastime. That's the example. Likewise with photography or anything else. Likewise with people who claim to want to know the truth, but when you give them the truth, they ignore it. They won't acknowledge it. They have no desire to hear the truth. So for those who fall into that category, Isaiah 30:10 of the King James Version of the Bible, those which say to the seer, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. We are in love with lies. So today I want to talk about a few things, and I labeled it empaths and narcissists and world affairs. For my empathetic people, and for those who don't know what an empath is, Jesus Christ falls under the line of an empath, one who feels the feelings of the people around him, who attracts the people around with their problems, their issues, and they are drawn to him, and he is able to heal and soothe their pain, their mental anguish with his words, with just his presence. So Christ was an empath. And I started talking about empaths some years ago because God put it in my heart that these things are related. How he wants us to understand life and empathy, how he wants us to understand the human family and empathy. But I want to include this time narcissist and narcissism. And I want to include that for a reason. And for those of you who don't know what narcissism is a person who only cares about themselves, but they make you think that they care about you too. A lot of our ministers are narcissists. They can give you a very uplifting message with the intention of extracting monetary gain from you for what they tell you that sounds good, but that can do nothing for your life. We all are on different stages in our lives, and if we can be realistic about where we are, if we can be realistic about what we can accomplish, what we can achieve, but you're listening to people who tell you you can be anything you want to be, and that's not so. You may want to be a mathematician, but you're not good at math. You may want to be an airplane pilot, but you're afraid of heights. And if you don't conquer these things, then that is a field that you cannot be a part of. Be honest with yourself. So the narcissist attracts all the women. You'll find a lot of timid, empathetic women are with narcissistic men. And you'll find a narcissistic man who can't find a timid woman will find a timid man. And a narcissistic woman who can't find a timid man will find a woman that she can dominate. And you'll see her masculine side come out because narcissism is the masculine side of dominance. It's like a sociopath. So I want to talk about these things today and relate them to what's going on. For many of you that don't know, a total eclipse occurred on July the 2nd of 2019. So for my empaths who feel the shifts of the earth, the waves, the tides, who feels emotions from people when they walk into a room, who get a funny feeling when they are around certain people. I want to caution you to this first. Number one, just because you get an uneasy feeling around someone does not mean they're evil. That may mean that your two emotional energies they clash. They don't mesh together for that moment. So don't walk away saying, oh, I got an evil feeling from that person. It may not have been an evil feeling. It may have been a discomfort because you're in two different zones at the time. You're thinking about happy thoughts. They're concerned about their health or something else, and your energies clash. We must begin to understand the universal law of things. Energy and God are the same. So I caution us to thinking that people are bad because we get a bad feeling around them at a certain point. July 2nd, 2019, there was a total solar eclipse. There won't be another one of that magnitude until April 8th, 2024. Anytime there is a solar eclipse or anything dealing with the moon, females, you will become more agitated, maybe more sexually aroused, very sexually aroused. Very open to the things that are around you. Likewise, with an empathetic man, you will become more sexually aroused. If there was a relationship that you were in, maybe high school or college, and the sex was good, you may find yourself thinking about that person during that period of sexual arousal. When you are aroused, when you get aroused by sex or the thought of intimacy, the brain opens up. When the brain opens up, God can contact you through the spirit. But a lot of times we abort that because we are so focused on the sexual feeling. When you begin to feel that type of energy, you should meditate and focus and pray more to God, less going to church or mosque or a building, because you will absorb all of the energies in the room. And that is why a lot of people have mental illnesses today, because they are absorbing all of these different energies. And as an empath, you don't know how to balance that. And Jesus Christ was the example, is the example of one who was empathetic, but he understood how to balance that energy. So Jesus, they say in the scripture, Jesus knowing their thinking, Jesus knowing their intent. He knew their plan based on his ability to tune into their thinking. You and I have that same ability. Anytime the earth shifts, anything like a hurricane or a eclipse or an earthquake, you feel that as an empath. So my purpose of this message, someone asked me about talking about empaths, narcissists, and relationships, and the recent events that occurred with the earthquake and the solar eclipse, because the solar eclipse happened in Chile and Argentina, in that area. And we weren't aware that it was going on, but anything that goes on in the universe will affect any person that is empathetic. And an empath always is attracted to someone opposite of themselves, usually a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath. That's why you see women who are nice, easygoing in school, all of a sudden hooking up with this hardcore guy who is their total opposite, because they fall in love very quickly with people opposite to them. Likewise with men. As an empath, I fell in love with a narcissist, a female. And I was in love, but she was not. She felt as if though I was sharing and balancing each other's emotional state and balancing each other's actions and reactions to worldly events and helping each other to make it through hard times. She just told me the other day, my ex-wife, that it felt as if though I was being her father. So she rebelled against what felt like her father and went out into the world and did everything she wanted to do that a child would do. We're talking about narcissistic people, empaths, and we're talking about recent events. So those of you who felt uneasy for the last month and a half, on July the 2nd, there was a eclipse. And for those of you who understand moon, hey Nisi, how you doing? I'm sorry you went off, but how you doing? I'm sorry. I don't look at my screen so much. For those of you who understand the process of the moon, many of us don't even understand that the moisture that comes down in the form of rain actually comes from the earth. Many of us don't know that when we're riding in the morning in the fog, that's really a cloud. You're in a cloud. That cloud is rising to the air. And depending upon the temperature in the air, it will come back down as rain, snow, hail, depending upon the temperature in the air. So what goes up must come down. What comes down usually goes back up. Likewise with the moon pulls on the female, it pulls on the male, usually on the heart region. So there was a solar eclipse, July the 22nd, July the 2nd of this month. A magnitude 7.1 earthquake hit in California on July the 5th. Now, my wife and I were about to catch a plane in Charleston on July the 5th, but we were in a restaurant. And my wife said, "Did you feel that?" And I'm like, "Feel what?" I didn't feel it. And she said, "Felt like the earth shook." Now, we weren't near a television or anything, but when we got to our destination and saw that the magnitude 7.1 earthquake hit, and even after the earthquake hit, there were hundreds of aftershocks after that. She felt the main one. And we were talking to a gentleman who said that an earthquake that occurred in Charleston, they felt it all the way in Chicago, Illinois. Depending upon your ability to tune into what's going on with the earth and with the universal realm. So many people get involved with narcissistic people who have no intentions of changing their narcissistic ways. Their desire is to control you, control the situation, use you, and when they're done, they will leave you. An empath falls in love and doesn't know how to stop loving. I'm going to go through this, then I'm going to go into the narcissistic, then we're going to close. Let me see what kind of time we got. So I didn't even record it, so I don't have a clue what kind of time we got. Poor me. Oh, okay, 15 minutes in. Number one, an empathetic person falls in love with a narcissistic person, and it is the start of their relationship. An empath will fully commit to the relationship and make an effort to make the relationship work. That's from the empathetic side. The narcissist doesn't do that. So many of you, your children are falling in love with what you consider a gangster or a thug. Many of the women will go to school, colleges, and end up pregnant back home. And when you find out who they had sex with, it's going to shock you, because they were easygoing at home, but attracted to this outgoing person in the street. The empath is always blinded by butterflies and fakes and the fakeness of a special bond. That's why I read what I read in Isaiah, which says to the seers, Isaiah 30:10, see not, and to the prophet prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things, prophesy lies. That is one of the problems, the issues with empathetic people. We want to see the good in everything and everybody, and we want to ignore the bad side. So most of the female empaths think that they can change a hard-hearted guy and make him better. They see the good in him, but the narcissist doesn't want that good to come out. They want to be who they are. So your empathetic love and concern and emotional ties to that person won't change them at all, but it will drain you, and it will connect you to that narcissistic person in a way that is almost like a slave, because you're constantly thinking, this time they're going to do right. This time it's going to be different. So a lot of us are still in slave relationships, thinking that this time will be different. Over time, the empath starts to depend on the relationship and the other person. It's like you do everything for this narcissistic person, and you become addicted to doing. A lot of us are addicted to doing things. And when there is any disturbance on a universal level, an earthquake or an eclipse, your emotions become so vulnerable that either sometimes you want to commit suicide, you give yourself to too many people. There are a lot of women and men who have committed adultery in their relationships, not with the intention of cheating on their partner, but they honestly thought they were doing right by giving themselves to someone who they felt needed them at the time. That is the mindset of an empathetic person out of control. When an empathetic person is out of control, they give and they give and they give. And they lose control and become very depressed, very discombobulated, disoriented, unorganized, unable to pull yourself out of condition that you're constantly willing to pull someone else out of. So you can go to an empath's home and it's junky, their car is junky, but they will come to your house and clean it from top to bottom. That's an empath. And a narcissist will allow you to do that. So in the stage that we're in now, from June, July to August, the emotions of the empath are very high, and you all, including myself, are very vulnerable. Over time, the empath starts to depend on the relationship and the other person. The empath feels incomplete, insecure without their partner. The narcissist will make them feel like they can't handle life on their own, and it says on her own, and that she needs him in her life. Now, the reason I like to read that part, she, is because it's the feminine part even of the male that carries the empathy. And that's why a lot of people come into religion and with homosexual tendencies and feel free to be gay, feel not gay, because gay is not the word, feel free to be a homosexual. Because Jesus was exercising his feminine side in empathy, but that feminine side is not a man-on-man femininity. That feminine side is the queen side of a woman that nurtures a man. So Jesus was a nurturer to Lazarus, even to the people on the left and the right of him when he was being symbolically nailed to a cross. He was a nurturer. His words were nurturing. The empath will try to see the positive traits in the narcissist, and that's the mistake we make. We are constantly trying to justify the narcissist activity. So instead of empath and narcissist, you'll be using down-home girl and a thug, for lack of better terms at this moment. I'll think of something better, God willing. But you see how man of the streets can make a woman who you never thought would be a prostitute, especially if he makes love to her in a way that she's never felt before. Same way that a man can make love to a man in a way that a man never felt from a man, and he will turn homosexual. And it doesn't have to be penetration for that love to occur. It has to be an emotional tie. That emotional tie is what most of you are feeling, myself included, right now. Hey, what's going on, Al? What's going on, man? I appreciate you tuning in for a minute, man. I know you're busy. You can come back anytime and tune in, man. We're talking about the total eclipse that occurred, the earthquake in California, flash flooding, the bombs that were ignited, and we're talking about people who desire to do for others who may be being used by them. And that's called the empath wants to do for others. The narcissist wants to use people. So we're going to talk about that for a minute now. Finally, the empath will say something because they feel suppressed and suffocated by the narcissist. It took a long time for me to tell my ex-wife she had to leave when I finally realized that she was not going to change. As much as I loved her, I just could not adapt to her way of being with another man and coming home to me. Even though it felt like when she was with me, she was all mine. It was very dangerous for my health and for my well-being, my mind state. Because an empath will suck up all of the thoughts and ideas of a person that you enter or a person that enters you. Those negative vibes or whatever is going on in their mind, you will become a part of that. Look that up for yourself. A narcissist always needs attention. I know of a man who was sick and demanded of his wife that she didn't sleep at night so she can make sure he was breathing. So she had to work during the day and stay up all night watching him make sure he was breathing. A narcissistic person wants their pleasure acknowledged and attended to. A narcissistic person doesn't have the ability to look at another person's life in the same way that they look at their own life. They're the most important thing. They will rob you. They will take your money. They will take your livelihood. They will take your energy, your power, and they will leave you. And then they will say something like, well, I didn't ask you for it. You gave it to me. So in that case, an empath, in this time from June, July to August, with all of the events that are occurring, including the flooding in Louisiana, all of these things cause a ripple effect in the rotation of the earth, which is spinning at 1,101/3 mile an hour. I think 1,130. I think so. Check that on. Anyway, any disturbance in that will cause a difference in your mindset. Many of us now are aggravated. Many of us are very super depressed, more than we ever been before. Many of us are super horny. And you find yourself going back to thinking about people that you had great sex with. Whether it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, an old flame, doesn't matter. You want that now. That is because of the way the universe is pulling on you. There was a total eclipse on the 2nd. The earthquake hit on the 5th. Now there's flash flooding and potential flooding in Louisiana on the 10th and 11th. All of these things are directly tied to your and my emotions at this point. Many of us, and not to mention the bombing at the school and the bombing at the Anytime Fitness or whatever it was in California, I think. Not to mention people doing things out of the normal. Not to mention the piggybacking of stupidity. licking the ice cream. Now everybody's licking ice cream. Somebody just licked some taco from Taco Bell, licked a whole rack of tacos. They just arrested an Asian woman for peeing in the ice cream container and wiping the mucus out of her nose on some of the food at the Chinese restaurant or whatever. It is the making of a person who has a desire that they have suppressed. You can't control it now. So a lot of things from June, July to August will be said that you can't take back. Be very careful what you say and how you say it, because you can't take it back. And someone said that on Facebook. Whoever said it, I'll give you the credit for it. Again, for those of you on Facebook, all of you thanked me for and congratulated us for our anniversary. So I know you're listening, but I wish you would really pay attention, because we are so accustomed to being the same. Everybody wants to be the same. And Reverend Antonio Green made a perfect point about Paul and finding our quality and accentuating our own personal quality that God put in us, so that we can take all of those qualities and build a society, a community. Instead, everybody is doing the same thing. So the empath will not understand that they are being manipulated because they have a pure and innocent soul. The narcissist will twist the empath's words and make the whole situation look like the empath's fault. I told you on many occasions that Satan is after our soul. Soul is what Satan is after. That's why the music is in cadence. I don't care if it's hip hop or R&B or country. You fall in love with the music only to find out that the person producing the music is not normal, or the new normal, or not the way that God intended. And once you fall in love with the person's persona, it's very difficult for us to turn back from that. So we start to make excuses. I ask people how they can love Rick Ross, the fake Rick Ross, Rick Rose, how they can love a man who stole someone else's identity and didn't pay that man for his life. He stole the real Rick Ross's identity, but the millennials fell in love with the fake Ross and give the fake Ross all of this attention and kudos for things he didn't do. And when the original Rick Ross took him to court to get royalties in his name, he lost the case with his own life. So the liar wins, because he said the fake Rick Ross said he had nothing to do with the police system. He wasn't a guard. Goes back to Isaiah 30:10 of the King James Version of the Bible, which says to the seers, anybody that has true knowledge, you don't want to hear it. So which says to the seers, see not, and to the prophets prophesy not, unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. Everybody wants to believe they're going to be a millionaire. Everybody wants you to believe that their life is so perfect. Everybody wants you to believe the lie of their life. They choose a part of their life, but not the whole life, to present it to you. When the earth starts to rebel against itself, a lot of the negative things that we portray as true will begin to be revealed. A lot of the lies on social media are being revealed. I said all of these things in connection to each other to say this to empaths. I know that the wise ones among us say empaths should not get involved with a narcissistic person who is one-sided. But when it comes to relationship, two empaths who are both gullible and who aren't able to express themselves until things get too far out of hand, you waste 30, 40 years of your life not being able to tell a person what you should have told them the first week into your relationship, but you didn't have the ability to do it. That narcissistic side of yourself you didn't have. The what if scenario for the empath. If you meet a narcissist, a selfish person who says, I am willing to meet you halfway and compare notes and help you become more like me, and you help me to become more like you, that both of us can understand narcissism and empathy, then you have the proper understanding of both God and devil, and you can balance yourself. Most people act as if though they're so godly. They don't want anything to do with their own life, which is satanic. So they lie on social media like they're so perfect. And I see all of these single women. Some of you may be able not to deal with being horny. And that's why I talked about the eclipse. But being super horny, either you using a dildo, or you playing with yourself, or you humping the side of the bed, the table, the dresser, the washing machine. But then you come back as if though you're so pure. But the scripture says, do not worship any graven image. So if it's not a penis going inside of you, it's a graven image. And even if it is a penis and it's a married penis or a penis that you're not married to, you're still committing a sin. So most of us like to look at life as if though, since I'm in church every Sunday, and since I don't curse and I don't smoke or drink liquor, I'm godly. Not so. And then the street people think since I'm hustling this dope and doing these wrong things, I ain't got no business in church. Not so. There is a balance in between that will help both parties. So if there is a narcissist who has tried to, if there is an empath who has tried to be in a relationship with an empathetic person and it didn't work and it still doesn't work, then find yourself someone on the opposite side who is willing to work with you. Because great people aren't born, great people are made. And in order to be great and special in your own right, something has to be brought out of you. You can't stay monotone. So sometimes someone may have to say something to you that you don't want to hear. But the Bible says in Isaiah 30:10, in the King James Version of the Bible, that this generation, this time, in biblical history, past, present, and future, that the people in Isaiah 30:10 will be saying, see not to the prophets, and prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. You don't want to hear the things that'll make you a better person. You want people to tell you that that clown makeup you got on looks good. You want people to tell you, oh, yeah, that big wig you got on looks good. You want people to tell you that everything you put on looks good. And if someone tells you, I don't think that is for you, you're going to call them a hater or Satan. People call me Satan all the time because I question things. So to the empaths and the narcissists, relationship-wise, if you can join together with someone, you're very welcome, Miss Shanette. I'm always pronouncing your name wrong. Blessings to you. For those of you who have not had very good success in being in a relationship with someone just like you, it's possible to be in a relationship with someone different. Many of the very hardcore men in the street are looking for a soft woman who can nurture them, and you and them can talk, and you can help him be a better empath, and he can help you defend yourself. Meaning bring out that narcissistic side when it's necessary, and him bringing out his empathetic side when it's necessary. Gangsters are very empathetic. Hardcore murderers, certain people they will always look out for. I see it happen all the time. They'll be on the corner. They see somebody they know you eat. Go get you something to eat. They give you the money. They'll give you food on holidays. They'll pay your rent. So it's in there. Remember, June, July, and August is going to be very tough on empaths. But a narcissistic person can help you make it through it. And you can balance each other out. I thank you so much for tuning in. And I want to say this at the end. A lot of times when you text me something on Facebook, or you text me something on YouTube, or just text it in my phone, text can be misconstrued. They can be misunderstood. They can be taken out of context. And if I have said anything offensive to anyone based on your text, and you didn't mean it the way I responded, please give me a call on Messenger, or send me something through YouTube, or call me on my phone if you have the number, and correct me on that. I am not trying to be this hard-hearted guy, but all of my life I had to protect myself. All of my losses I had to take, all of my wins I had to take myself. So I may misunderstand certain texts that you send, but if you call me, and I am the easiest person to talk to, explain what you're saying, and I am willing to apologize for anything that I said specifically wrong to offend anyone, because I sometimes text and messages like that can be misconstrued. So again, blessings to all of you, and to anyone that I've offended with my words, blessings to you over myself. But I really just probably misunderstood what you said and responded in what I thought I was supposed to say in defense of what I was saying. So I apologize to anyone that I may have offended. And if it can be corrected, please give me a call, or I'd rather you call me, because I like to make verbal friends, not social media friends. Thank you all so much, Billy Blocko. I see you. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, for those of you who don't know your feelings, many of us are narcissistic. We really only care about ourselves. Many of us are empathetic. We care about everything. And being an empath will drain you. And many of us are dying of heart attacks, strokes, trying to save the world, especially ministers and pastors, and trying to save the world and becoming, I just read a report last week about the depression in the ministry, how people are depressed because the churches are dwindling. Well, the congregation are mostly narcissistic people who are only concerned at proving their point. But there is a way to talk to a narcissist. There's a way to talk to a sociopath, psychopath, empath. Scripture says there's a way that seemeth right to a man. Most of them are the ways of death, but we have to learn the ways to speak to each other on our terms and on our level. That's when you're becoming a boss. That's when you're becoming a god and godlike. So thank you for tuning in. Again, the solar eclipse happened on July the 2nd. You are affected by that if you're empathetic, or not, depending upon the strength in your emotions. The earthquake 7.1, my wife felt that. We were in Charleston and we were in a restaurant. We weren't watching any TVs or anything at the time, but she said, this room is shaking. Did you? And I didn't feel it, but she felt it. And many of you felt it. Again, it's real. A resident of Charleston told us about an earthquake that hit there that was felt all the way in Chicago by people in Chicago, because the fault goes all the way and sensitive people can feel it. Likewise, sensitive people can feel ways to help you, and narcissistic people can give you ways to stand up for yourself. So for those of you who've tried being with empaths all your life, try to find someone who is stronger than you, more open than you, but are willing to share that with you and you share with them. I hope that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for tuning in. Jamil Salib Zamir of Manning, South Carolina, and the 19 Report, the 19 Network, and like it is with Dale Castro Powell. And Dale Castro also has the Truth Show. Tune into that on social media. And I would advise people, if you can find Pascal Roberts on Facebook, tune in. He's a lawyer, activist, very intelligent. I don't agree sometimes with the way he says things, but once I read it, I understand what he's saying. And I asked him a question today, and he responded immediately, helping me understand better what I didn't understand. And to Farouk, Muslim brother, I thank you for calling me and encouraging me to keep going, and your encouraging words. And I thank all of you all. Yes, Miss Emily. Oh, wow. Yes, compassion. Great to feel that. I was saying about the situation with empaths. Don't get involved with the narcissist that is stronger than you are, because they will break you. You will be in a relationship where men leave you, or if you're in a relationship with a woman who will leave you high and dry once they suck all out of you, or a man who will leave you with children high and dry. Get in a relationship either with an empath or a narcissist who is willing to share their knowledge with you, and you share your knowledge with them. Now, this is a painful process. It's like birth. It's like being rebirthed. So when they tell you, stop being a baby, stop being so whiny, they're not trying to crush you in many cases. They're trying to make you stronger. And as I said, with the total eclipse that occurred on July the 2nd, your emotions are high, you feel more sexual. A narcissistic person can tap into that and make you feel ecstasy in a way that you wouldn't feel with someone that's being too delicate when you want it a little rough. We're adults, so we can talk that way. So I thank you for tuning in. Go back and listen to it if you didn't. Thank you so much, all of you, for all that you've for your support. It means the world to me. Really does, because no one wants to talk to themselves every day, especially when they believe they have something of value to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Facebook. Share this, Facebook, and share this on YouTube. Again, thank all of you for tuning in. You guys are the best. See you later. Salute to you.